Today, I want to talk to you about a problem that a lot of web designers, freelancers, web agencies, and even content creators out there have. It's where they're offering content or websites for a low price. Maybe they're charging something like $50 per website, or maybe even $500. Now, a lot of us have been in that scenario when we started off. You go back 20 years ago for me, I was in that kind of region. British pounds because I'm based in the UK. And even as far as, say, 5 or 6 years ago, I was like well in that region, even lower to some extent. I was building like entire WooCommerce websites for $300. It sounds super duper crazy, but that's because I wasn't mentally ready or psyched myself up to start offering increased prices. And I'm talking about like 2K, 5K, 20K. Now, you may look at this or watch or listen to this video and kind of go, you're being unrealistic. People don't pay that. Believe me, there's a lot of businesses out there that have a budget set aside for web design or content creation, SEO, social media management that will pay this. And you can start to scale up. And I will be sharing some info about what I charge, but also I want to give you really big, easy to do tip where you can start planning for your future and what you're going to do with your agency and how you can break out of charging low prices and start breaking up into higher prices. The biggest mistake a lot of people make, and even I did, is we set a price for our website. So let's just start with the low price model. Let's say you charge $200 to build a website. That is the price you're setting regardless of what kind of client or project comes through the door. It could be a one-page website, five-page website, e-commerce website, hotel booking website, whatever. You just go in at that because you're afraid of the other competition winning the business, especially if the client is kind of scoping the market for who they're going to work with. Now, if someone comes to you directly and they're already aware of your prices with regards to what I'm going to lead on to, then you know you can charge that or start in that area. But if you're on Fiverr, Upwork, or these other models out there, you know that you're always going to have to charge a little bit less because the client might come back to you and go, well, someone said they could do it for $150, and you might go, well, okay, I'll do it for $140, and you're just racing to the bottom. And if you imagine that you got, say, 4 websites a month, so 1 per week, and you were charging that, you're now earning $560. But if you were charging $2,000 per website and you only got 1 a month, compare that 2,000 to the 560, which was 4 websites. Now imagine all the research, scope creep, building, back and forth revisions, all of that. You're just setting yourself up for either failure or a lot of stress. Let's rewind back to what I said about where you may start off with a price. What you've got to think about is, what is that price going to cover? And I kind of gave it away when I was talking about, well, what is it? 1 page, 5 page, all of that. My baseline price for a website starts at $2,400. That is for a 1-page website. And some of you are going to gawp at that. You're going to go, really? Like, that's probably a day's work. And that's about right. So it's going to be setting up your WordPress, maybe collating your images. It won't just be a day. There might be a little bit of leeway here or there. But if someone comes to me for a website, I will be making clear that this is for a 1-page website. That is my starting point. And I don't want you to just look at that, hear the word 1 page and go, right, that's going to cover everything. No, I want you to break that down into what you understand a 1-pager to be. Because a 1-pager might be something like 3 or 4 sections, including a header and a footer as well. A 1-pager could be 20 sections. And inside of there's like loads of stuff going on, loads of forms, loads of info, team info, testimonials. And what I need you to understand is that 2.4 is for a simple 4 to 5 section 1-pager, including your header footer. You've also got to bear in mind that it might also include privacy policies, cookie policies, and things like that. So a 1-pager could be a few extra pages, but they're the things you would have had in the footer anyway. But if you were going to have a complicated website structure, to say the amount of content is almost double what you've got here, you need to adjust your price accordingly. So my price might now shoot up to be $4,000, or 3,600 or 5,000. It very much depends on the content. Please remember this, okay? If you have a 5-page website, your home, your about, your services, your contact, and maybe something else, gallery or case studies or, other stuff, and all of that is condensed into one page, well, you're now doing the equivalent of a 5-page website all into one page. So don't just go, well, one pager, yeah, that'll just be a simple price. It depends on the amount of content. What you also need to do, though, is decide what is not included in that baseline 2,400. So things like setting up the domain or setting up the hosting. Or what about the email? Maybe they're transferring from one provider to another. Does your price include that? And I strongly recommend you don't. These are extras, okay? Whenever someone goes out for a quote to Fiverr, Upwork, or other places, people come back and go, yeah, we'll build your website for $200 or $50 and blah, 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 and we'll handle everything. Really? I mean, if you are trying to work with a premium business or businesses that work with other businesses, they will be very much used to someone coming over and go, right, okay, you want us to come and decorate your office. Okay, there might be a charge for moving the equipment or cleaning up or painting. You want us to repair the wall as well. There's like a breakdown. Businesses that work in the world of businesses don't always just get one price. They normally get a breakdown. And you have to kind of start adopting that philosophy and that mindset as well. So if your client turns around and goes, well, I don't want to pay the extra there, so they are going to sort out their own domain hosting connections, whatever, a few installations or things like that, they can do that because you've made clear, because this cost is for the website build. This might include, though, some of the collating as well. I really want to hone in on your starting baseline. That 2,400 should not be including your domain or hosting. You could include it as long as you make clear that of this 2.4, $400 was the domain hosting, email setup, or some other stuff. Is that design or what you're building based on a design provided by the client? So they're going to tell you what they want. They've already worked with the designer and it's going to include that. Fine, you will build to that. You got to make sure your pricing reflects what they're asking you to do there. Maybe they haven't got a design. So are you going to wireframe like I am right now with scribbles? Again, is that included? As long as you are in a similar mindset with the client and, they're going to give you the freedom to do that. And you're not going to spend 5-10 days back and forth. Okay, I've designed this hero banner, with a scribble. What do you think? As long as they're okay with that, you could probably include that. But are they expecting you to do an Adobe XD design or a Figma design, the whole mobile desktop, all of the interactions design? Well, you can't include that in the cost. You have to charge extra. So there might be an extra $3,000 to cover that. Don't assume, oh yeah, we'll just do a Figma design or we'll just get a template that the client's going to go, yeah. Because if they're asking you to do that, I'm pretty sure they're going to come back and say, we want to make changes now. Can we do this? Can we move that? Can we make this button actually go over here? Can you show me what that would look like? Can we change the color scheme? Can we add different fonts and whatever? So you could be spending a lot of time. And if you have said, we will do all of that within here, well, you've just devalued and undervalued what you're doing, your time, your resources, your skill set, everything. You just devalued it, all right? So you make sure that your baseline cost is the cost for the website. We're going to start off with our basic price of 2.4K, all right, for a 1-page website. What about now when you go to a 5-page website, right? So we're going to do 5p there. What's your price going to be now? It won't be 5 times that. Okay, let's be realistic here. Your home page is usually the most, beefiest page. Your services may be also very beefy. About page, contact page, privacy policy page, cookie policy page, and all of these other little pages, right? They usually are pretty simple. Gallery page, come on, man. Once they've given you the images, you just go and stick a widget in, basic or mosaic or masonry or whatever, and then you just shove the images in and blah, it's all done for you, and it's normally mobile responsive as well. Not a lot of work there, really, right? The most work you probably actually do is converting the images into WebP or making sure, the orientation is right or stuff like that. So you're not going to be charging $2,000 for a gallery page unless they're asking you to do something a bit more funkier and you got to start experimenting and playing with CSS or something like that. So let's just say, right, the cost for a 5-page website, and I am now telling you what I normally go for, will come to 5K, right? It is double, but that's because I'm adding in the time as well and the fact there will be back and forth. But it's not 2.4 times 5, which will now take you into, 12,000, I think. Now let's say you're going to do a website which has got some e-commerce as well. So now we're thinking about a load more things are going to go into it, right? There's more templates to build, shop, all of that, categories and maybe variations. You have to price it up for what they're asking you. Are you going to add 3 products and they do the rest? Are they asking you to do all the products and there's like 100? So you got to have a think about that. But the average price that I might be coming in at will be 13K. Now let's say there's like appointment bookings as well. So this is kind of similar to the e-commerce. It might be with or without. So I'm just going to put in an extra 5K there. So it will either be applied to there or it will be applied to there depending on if it is e-commerce or not. So if you want like a 6-7 page website and there's some hotel booking appointments as well or something, and we are going to be using a plugin to make things easier for yourself. But even though you're adding in a plugin, there's still time and effort in setting things up, payment gateways and all of that, time and effort. So when you start to think about the fact that you now have a starting baseline and then everything extra is extra on top. And like I said earlier, if you're going to do the domain and hosting an email and all that setup, that's an extra price. If you are going to do a Figma or a full-blown design and you got to factor in the time, that is an extra price. If you are going to do the SEO for them, and when I say SEO, obviously you will have already have kind of smuggled in the keywords where you can, but when you are then going to install an extra plugin and kind of, submit to a Google Search Console and maybe Google Analytics or Google Sitekit, and you might be using Rank Math, Yoast, Slim SEO, or whatever you're using, there is a cost for that. And it might be something like $400 or $500 because you've already done the keywords. There are people out there that say, yeah, we'll build your website, but we're not going to do your SEO unless you pay extra. Well, any web designer out there should have been accommodating some of the keywords anyway. And even if someone does not pay for SEO, you should already have it in the back of your mind. Like when you say to a client, what are we going to put in the hero banner and what are we going to put as your first paragraph or whatever, what are we going to call the page? You have to be thinking of the SEO. Any web designer that goes, no, we ain't going to do that unless you pay for it. Well, that's shoddy workmanship. All right. It's like you get a builder who's going to like build an extension for you. They should already be thinking about the bricks and what you need, whatnot. What they're not going to say to you is, right, we're not going to consider the right engineering bricks you need for the foundation unless you pay us extra to make sure we get the right foundation brick. Well, they should already know what they need to use. So make sure you don't overlook things. But if you are now required to install a plugin, to make sure you tick a few boxes, to make sure you submit to Search Console and Google Analytics and make sure pages are indexed, make sure things are feeding through, you keep an eye on that, make sure that, it definitely is in Google, okay? That's the jinx, the jigs, the jigs, the jucks, the jots. The purpose of what I'm trying to get to, okay? That will be an extra cost. So there's a whole heap of add-ons and things that you can have that you break down and make crystal clear to the client. So if they ever come back and go, well, okay, I don't want to pay 13K for an e-commerce website, you've made clear to them, well, that did include, say, 10 products. Okay, we'll do 3 of them, and I'll send you a quick video showing you how you need to do it. Or we'll sort out your keywords, but you need to submit yourself, and here's a video or a guide online that you can go and watch and do it. And if they struggle and come back to you, well, you've made clear what the price was, so they now have to pay you for it. And if you are going to sort out their email, you make clear to them, you'll sort it out, you'll make sure the connections are in. But if there is an issue between the host provider and the email provider and whatever, you will go in and look into it, but there will be a charge for that because you want to make the client understand that no one out there is going to be able to be absolutely perfect with working with every email and host provider. Many of us, for all the wrong reasons, have worked with, say, a GoDaddy provider and a Hotmail email account, and then you're making sure things go through okay from the WordPress website. But we are not in control of the host provider or the email provider. So when things go wrong, you want to make sure that if you have to fix it, you're being paid for that. So can you go from charging low prices to higher prices? Absolutely, right? Think of your baseline, then think of all the extra things you're going to add and make that clear to your clients. The 1-pager, 5-pager, multiple pages, e-commerce, SEO, all of this stuff. And if you get that into your head now, right, and you start planning for that, it's like a pricing ladder, right? It's a pricing strategy. You will start to do it, and don't be afraid of it. If someone comes to me and says, I don't care who they are, I don't care how desperate you are, I don't care what problems you got in your life, okay? I really don't care. Everyone's got problems. And you need a website, that's the starting price. And I've had so many people go, yeah, but I ain't got the budget for that. I go, I'm really sorry, but that's the starting price. Don't start bending over. The minute you start bending over and you go, well, okay, my starting price is 2.4. Okay, you know what? I'll do it for 1.4. You just slashed off $1,000. The client's going to look at you and think, well, that's a bit of a big jump, right? Should I trust you now? Like, do we know each other that well? Why all of a sudden have you dropped down? It reeks of desperation, especially if they go and tell their friends, oh, yeah, so-and-so built my website, but I got it for a lot lower, and look at what they did for me. They're going to come back and start expecting that low price too. And don't be afraid of changing your baselines over time. About 2 years ago, our starting price was 1.2K for a 1-page. Now it's 2.4. At some point, it'll probably go up to 3K. You are allowed to change what you charge based on the amount of work you're getting, demand and all of that, other things you got on. Just don't be afraid of it. And if you don't get any work, seriously, just reevaluate what you're doing with regards to how you're reaching out to clients. Reevaluate, are you underpinning your entire industry career on just web design, or is there other things you can do? And by the way, if you're not a web designer and you're a logo designer or you design cars or houses, this whole philosophy applies to you as well. Because if you are using Bark, Fiverr, Upwork, and all of these other, places for your gigs and all of that, you are competing against everyone else, right? All that and you're just going to keep offering lower prices. Just don't do it. Hey, look, I'm Imran from Web Squadron. I hope you learned something from this. If anyone wants to drop in comments and have some other bits of advice they'd like to share, please stick it in. But I hear this all the time. It's one of the most common questions is like, how can I increase my prices? Well, I can't make you increase your prices. You increase your prices. And if you think about businesses out there, if they have the option to have a website built and they see 5 web designers and all of those one of them's like, I'll build it for free. And then you pay me a monthly maintenance. I'll build it for free. Then you got someone going, I'll do it for $50. Then you got someone going $500. And, they've all got portfolios and examples. And then you got someone else, right, who's not afraid to be on social media, who doesn't just talk the talk, they walk the walk, and they go, it's going to be $10,000, and we will cover off and this is what it includes. A lot of businesses will go to the one that is more transparent. A lot of businesses, right, sometimes like to pay more just to say, yeah, look at what we got. Oh, did you get that off Fiverr? Nah, we don't want none of that kind of stuff. No, we got a proper designer. You might not believe me, but that's the truth of it. Don't be afraid to increase your prices.
Never break, always fight, never quit, do it right, play the game, win it life, have no shame, there's no time.